The biggest risk involved with owning property is placing a nightmare tenant. Your tenant is the bloodline of your property business, and whether you like it or not, this is one of the most important aspects to focus on when you want to be a successful property investor. We've all heard stories about tenants not paying their rent on time or not paying at all, or stories about landlords trying to evict tenants, and at the end of the day it costs them thousands and thousands of rands. The question that comes to mind is, should I use a rental agency to help me with my tenants? Before I answer that question, let's start with some of the main advantages when it comes to using a rental agency. If this is your first time here, my name is Louis and I like to invest in properties that can generate free cash flow. And if you want to find out exactly how I do this, I created a tailored online property course for South Africans, as well as a coaching program where I teach people how to buy properties that can make them money. I'll share the link down in the description, so please check it out. Also, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel, liking this video and sharing it with your friends and family. Listen closely to what I'm going to say, and if there's a specific task that you want your managing agent to manage on your behalf, make sure to make a mental note of it. A rental agency can help you find, vet, place, and manage your potential tenant. A rental agency will help you market your property on your behalf to find the right potential tenant. This is normally done by using paid tools and services to get your property out there so that it attracts the right type of tenants. Once the property is marketed and they start getting inquiries for your property, they will start the vetting process. This is by far the most important part of the whole process, because if you don't place the right type of tenant from the beginning, you can struggle with some expensive issues going down the line. They will again use paid services and tools to vet your tenant correctly, doing stuff like credit checks, employment confirmations, seeing if they have large amounts of outstanding debt and what the possibility for them is to actually pay your rent on time for the duration of their rental agreement. Together with your approval, the agency will tell you whether a specific tenant will be a good fit for your property or not, and what would the likelihood be of them defaulting on their rent based on the credit checks that they've done. Just remember, this is a very important part, and this is a part that if you don't understand how it works, it definitely makes sense to use a professional like a rental agency. Once a tenant is vetted and approved, they will draw up a tried and tested rental agreement for the tenant to sign. It's really important to use the right type of rental agreement, specifically in South Africa, so it makes it much easier if you use a rental agency. Once the agreement is signed, they can do stuff like key handover or ingoing inspections in the property. They can also share the body corporate rules with your tenant and link their account to water and electricity bills if necessary. This is the part where your tenant actually moves in, and they can help your tenant to be comfortable as quickly as possible so that they are happy with their decision. Once your tenant is happy and placed in your property, the rental agency will also manage the month-to-month operations. This is mainly focused on retrieving your monthly rent and making sure that the rent is paid on time. If there is a late payment or if a late payment occurs, the agent will make sure that the right legal steps is taken so that you can retrieve your rent. They can also manage any inquiries the tenant has. Let's say there's something that needs to be repaired. The communication will go from your tenant to your agent directly to the landlord, instead of communicating from your tenant to the landlord directly. So it's an extra buffer of communication which can save you a lot of stress and time. This is just a quick breakdown of some of the main advantages of using a rental agency, and like anything in life, it also has disadvantages. In my opinion, the main disadvantage of using a rental agency is you have to pay them. This is not a free service, so you need to use your rental income to pay commission towards your rental agency. This is normally between 6 to 10% of your rental income, so this is the only part of using a rental agency that I don't like. I want to show you guys a quick example of two property deals where we use an agent. Let's say, for example, we bought a property for 550,000 Rand. It has a rental income of 5,500 Rand, meaning it beats the traditional 1% rule. Our expenses would be 5,500 Rand for the bond repayment, 1,300 Rand for the levies, 800 Rand for rates and taxes, and a 6% commission for our rental agency, or 330 Rand. If we have a look at these numbers, we can see that our income is 5.5, but our expenses at the end of the month is 7,930 Rand, meaning we have a shortfall of 2,430 Rand. If we use an agent here or not, either way, this property will have a shortfall, but this is probably one of the most traditional type property investments, or one of the most common issues that people face when buying their first or second investment properties. Let me quickly show you a second type of property, and this is the type of properties that I like to buy. And let's say, for example, we bought a property for 750,000 Rand, but the rental income is 23,000 Rand. I know it sounds impossible, but it's definitely possible when you do multi-lets or student accommodation. The bond for this property will be 7,500 Rand. The levies for this property is 1,400 Rand. The rates and taxes is 1,000 Rand. And all the other expenses like Wi-Fi and water and electricity for the students, as well as cleaning services, is going to be 3,270 Rand. Then we also need to pay an agent, and this example we will pay our agent a 10% commission, which will be 2,300 Rand. And last but not least, we need to account for 2 months vacancy when it's student accommodation, which would be 3,680 Rand. This brings our total expenses to 19,150 Rand, or a cash flow positive amount of 3,850 Rand. In my opinion, it's definitely worth using a rental agent if you have these type of properties. If you have a property that already costs you money each and every month, and above that you need to pay a rental agent his commission, you just keep making less money. But if you have a deal that is cash flow positive and you pay your agent and you still have money left, that is a no-brainer. At the end of the day, this is two completely different deals, but I just wanted to show you an example of what normal people buy and the type of properties that I like to buy. The point I'm trying to make is that an agent is a great team member to have on your side, because you can effectively buy back your time. You can also minimize your overall risk and streamline the whole rental procedure to make life much easier. If you think you have the skills to manage properties on your own, by all means go for it, but eventually you will get to a place where you won't have enough time on your hands. Everyone has 24 hours in a day, and eventually you will have too much properties to manage on your own. You will have to run the numbers on your property deals to decide whether you can afford to pay an agent or not. But at the end of the day, if you can afford it, just do it, because you have so many advantages compared to the one main disadvantage of having to pay them a certain amount of commission. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope at the end of this video you can decide whether using a rental agent makes sense or whether it's something that you want to do on your own.